Well, hey guys, I've been off for a little bit, a few days, and before I get into anything else, I just want to hopefully remind you guys just say a prayer for the people of Japan, and let's all pray that cloud, that nuclear cloud, doesn't have any effect on us here in the U.S. But the silver, obviously the markets over the past couple days have been in a dive. Silver today is at about 34.34 and gold's at 14.02. They've held up pretty well in spite of the disaster there in Japan. And I just, it's a horrible, horrible thing, and that's not something you can really prepare for, a devastating earthquake and a tsunami. But I mean, for the people who aren't in the affected areas surrounding Japan, it's even getting dicey for them now because there's a few articles here on Drudge that talk about a food panic. There was pictures the other day of the shelves being bare. Everybody's kind of running to get what's left. Fresh water, there's none to be found for these poor people in the affected areas. They're dealing with extreme cold weather. I guess it snowed on them the other night. I mean, the absolute worst conditions you could think about in a situation like an earthquake and then after a tsunami are happening to these poor people. And economic collapse or any of that stuff aside, this is a real tragedy. And that kind of illustrates, there's a lot of people who've left comments and they think that if somehow we're not going to see any kind of collapse or there's not going to be any kind of tragedy following our economic situation. But you know what? If you were prepared at all, you could be prepared for something as awful as an earthquake. I mean, if you're in the affected areas where it's real bad and wiped out, obviously there's nothing you can do to prepare for that. But again, for the people outside those areas who perhaps they wish now that they had stored up some food, they had stored up some water, even if not only for themselves, but to be able to help people in those affected areas. So we have to keep in mind that we're not only stocking up for ourselves, we're not only preparing for ourselves, but we have to be prepared to help other people as well, our neighbors around us, our community. And if you kind of have a network of friends in your community beforehand, when something does happen, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to connect, this is where we're going to meet, what we're going to share, what we're going to bring to the table. All these kind of things can be thought of in advance. And these are the kind of things we have to be prepared for, because it's not always something as something I don't want to say as simple, but as obvious as economy that's in the news every day. But an earthquake, a tornado, a hurricane, we could easily use the same preparations that we prepared for those kind of disasters as well. So, and as far as the economic collapse goes, it's business as usual in Washington. There's another article here on Drudge talking about that the Congress voted to cut $6 billion the same day that our debt went up $78 billion. So, I mean, almost what's the point? I'm glad they're cutting something, or they voted to cut something, or whatever it is. But, I mean, $78 billion. The debt is mounting so fast that we can just barely keep up with it with a counter, let alone having to keep up with cuts that our government is making. But take heart now, guys, because our politicians, they don't miss fundraisers. There's another article on Drudge this morning about 150 fundraisers going on at any time given this week in D.C. for both parties. I say we only have one party in Washington. They just have two different names. It just has two different names. But so it exasperates the whole thing. It just shows you that our politicians are absolutely clueless. They can't agree on anything, which means they're never going to get anything done to solve the crisis that we're in. It almost seems like the only thing that can solve it is a collapse, so that then we can all go, okay, that didn't work, let's reset. And it's not going to be that easy. There's going to be pain involved. There's going to be shortages. There'll be all kinds of different things involved, maybe even things that we can't foresee. But if you and I are prepared for it in advance, that's all we can do for ourselves and our family and for our neighbors. So, that's my back to work kind of commentary right at this point, guys. And fight the good fight. Keep the faith. Take care.